Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 5 of the Halloween Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing 20 brand new Halloween themed craft projects for you to make with a Cricut machine over 20 days. Today's project is the showstopper. Every craft countdown I try to include one project that stands out that little bit taller than the rest of the projects, and I bet for this countdown you thought that was day 1 with the giant Halloween calendar sign. That project was pretty impressive, but it's not a patch on today's. Today's project is really going to make you go, wow. So let's take a look. Here it is. I told you it was good, right? This is a giant 3D Halloween ornate Gothic-inspired candelabra made entirely from cardstock, apart from the tea lights on top. You can put real battery-powered tea lights in there so it glows. You can't see it very well because of all my camera lights, but it looks really nice in real life. It's so big, I can hardly fit it in the camera frame. It's freestanding, it's got a lovely, strong, stable base on it. I've used glitter card for all of the details to make it sparkle. It looks amazing from whichever angle you look at it from, and it all comes apart to make it easier to store for future years. All of the candle bits on top can be just popped off like this, and then the main bits of the candelabra slot together, so you pull it out of the base and then pull these two bits apart, and then you've got lovely, flat, easy to store pieces ready for next year. This does take a fair bit of time to make, as you can probably guess by the length of this video, but I think it's absolutely worth it for something that's really, really going to stand out. Let's get started. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Halloween Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/HCC25. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access bundle at craftwithsarah.com/HCC25 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Halloween Craft Countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. Or purchase just this design at craftwithsarah.com/products. To find the designs from this countdown, click into the Occasions filter and choose Halloween. The designs will appear here each day once they become available to buy. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project, then press Upload over on the left and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the file on your computer or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the download folder, and within there go into the subfolder called Cutting Machine Versions. Within here is the file in several different formats. For Cricut Design Space, you want the file that starts SVG in the file name. Click and drag that in, and this is what it looks like. Don't worry that you get a warning about it being a large image. Press Continue. You don't need to change anything on this screen, simply press Upload. The project will then insert onto your canvas. You can close out this window on the left by clicking the arrow that appears halfway down the page. This should load in at 82 inches wide and 50 inches tall. That's why Design Space said it was a large file. Don't worry, everything will cut on 12 by 12 inch cardstock or smaller, but because there are so many pieces laid out next to each other, that's why the final design ends up at 82 by 50. Zoom out with the buttons on the bottom left to get a better idea of what we've got. So these are all of the pieces that will make up the candelabra. I've used 2 different colours. There's a dark grey for the majority of the pieces, and then the decorative pieces are shown in black. I'll be using a black glitter card for my decorative pieces. There is quite a lot of formatting we need to do in Design Space before this is ready to cut. We need to add all of the score lines in so that our machine knows where to do the scoring. If you don't have a scoring stylus or scoring wheel, head to the schedule page for the Halloween Craft Countdown, look in the top box called Foundation Learning, and within there is a link to a separate tutorial on alternative ways to score with your Cricut if you don't have one of the dedicated tools. Let's start by separating out all of the layers. Click Ungroup at the top of the Layers panel. We can be a little bit cheeky when we're doing this. These 5 sections along the top make up all of the little candle holders for each of the 5 tea lights. All the pieces are the same, which means what we can do is just format it once and then copy it for the other 4. So what I'm going to do is click on 4 of these along the top and press the trash can icon, or you can hit delete on your keyboard to get rid of them. Then we'll just be left with 1. This way we'll only need to do the file formatting once, and then we can just copy it again to make it back to 5. Let's work on that first. Zoom back in so it's easier to see. And then within here, let's click. That will select the group we've got left, and then ungroup this by pressing the ungroup button. Now when you scroll down, you can see there are several pieces in here that have got a chevron icon, like a little triangle, next to them in the Layers panel. So there's 4 in total. That's this one here. It's the one underneath, the 2 kind of spirally shaped pieces, and the circle with the bits that point into the middle. We need to format the score lines on all of these. Start with the top left. Click that chevron in the Layers panel, and then within there is a single horizontal line. When you click it, you'll see a green colour appear in this box up here next to the Operations drop-down. Under Operation, change this one layer to Score. Then click the group to select it. So I've now got that score line and the one underneath selected. You can tell that because they've all gone green, and press Attach. Attach is what tells the Cricut that we want it to do the scoring on this particular bit of card. Do the same with the one underneath. Open up that arrow, click the horizontal line, change it to Score, click to select that whole section, and attach. And then this one. The line now looks a little bit different, but you can still tell which one it is because it's the one that looks like single lines rather than the filled in grey shape. And it still shows green up here so that you know it's the right one. Change it to Score, click to select, and attach. The same on this one. You're going to be very used to this process by the end of this video. Change it to Score, click to select, attach. And then finally, this circle shape. Click that top layer that looks like the dashed lines, change it to Score, click again, and attach. Now I'm going to drag a box to select all of the bits in that section again, and press Group. Then zoom out, and press the Duplicate button up here. And we need to make 4 copies so that there are 5 in total to make up for those ones that we deleted at the beginning. So rather than having to format all of those 5 times, we've just done it once. Much quicker and easier. We can do a similar thing with these little shapes down here. Zoom in. And once again, there are 3 of these and they're the same. So we can delete 2 of them. And then on the one that's left, open it up, change those single lines to Score, click to select and attach, and then duplicate it twice to put those back in. All right, moving along. We don't have any score lines in those parts, but now we're up to these bits with all of these kind of crocodile teeth tabs. First, we'll click on this one, open up the group, change that top layer within there to Score and attach. Then the one underneath. Then for this one, this is the same top and bottom, so we can delete one of them, just change the lines on the top, and attach, and duplicate it for the bottom one. Similarly here, we've got 2 of this and 2 of this, so we can get rid of those 2. Change that one, change it to score, attach and duplicate. And then this one, change it to score, attach and duplicate. Okay, scrolling down again, we've got even more, and some of these are the same again. So that one and that one are the same. We can do it once. If you're finding it confusing with the deleting and duplicating, you don't have to delete them. You could just work through them all one at a time, just so that you absolutely know you have got all the pieces that you need and haven't accidentally forgotten to put any back in. It just depends on which method you prefer doing. I like to make things quicker, which is why I'm deleting and adding back in. And we got this one, only one of these, and attach. Okay, what else have we got? All right, now we're on to the bottom row. Got this big piece here. Change that one to score and attach. Then this one here. Score and attach. Nearly there now. These bits don't have any. So I think that's us done, but here's a good way to check. What you're going to do is scroll all the way up to the top of the layers panel, then slowly scroll down and look for any chevrons where it doesn't say the word attach. That's a good indicator that you might have accidentally missed anything. The exception will be these ones that say group. This is our 5 along the top. We know we've already done that, but you can check by going in and making sure everything within there says attach on the chevrons, which it does. And then looking down, 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 are there any more chevrons that don't say attach? Nope, we're good. That is everything. All right, I'm going to give this a save now because I don't want to have to go through and do all of that again if I decide to make the project again. So if you save it now, it means you can open it up again whenever you want, and all that scoring will already be formatted, so you won't have to go through and do it all again. All right, so that's all of that done. It's now ready to cut out. I'll click Make over on the top right, and that will separate out all the pieces. As you can see, this project does require 12 by 12 inch cardstock. It almost fills that whole space, and it will need quite a lot of cardstock to get through all the different shapes. It's showing at 16 sheets, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of my black, which will in my case be my glitter, and then 11 of the dark grey. I'm going to use just a regular black instead of dark grey, so I'll have solid black for these bits and then glitter black for the decorative parts. On some of the pieces, you might be able to drag and drop them about to use up less space on the cardstock and maybe get it down to use up less sheets. However, it looks like the Cricut's done a pretty good job of actually getting these to fill the space really nicely. So these bits perhaps maybe could be fitted onto another sheet. Let's give it a go. Click the 3 dots, move object. Make sure you choose the same colour. Go for that one and we'll see. Oh, it will just about fit. Look, that's not quite overlapping. I could put it in there for a little bit more space. Okay, so I think I can get this down by 1 sheet. Let's drag all of those and move them to, let's try that one. And I need to rotate. If you press the Shift key on your keyboard down when you rotate, you can get it exactly 90 degrees and move those on there. So now I won't need this 11th sheet. When I click continue, it will remove it because it's now empty. So I've got it down by 1. Can I do that for these ones? Maybe. So I probably could move all of those little bits about and put them in the gaps all around these bits to take up one less sheet, but that's going to take a really long time, and I would personally rather use an extra sheet than spend ages fiddling about with all of them. So I'm going to leave that one as it is. When you're happy with how everything's looking, press continue to connect to your Cricut and then get everything cut out following the on-screen instructions. Because I'm using glitter card, which is very thick for my decorative parts, I'm going to use the craft board setting to cut that out at, which is craft with a K. I found that seems to work best for glitter card in my experience. It does mean that everything does a double cut, so all of the lines you see on the screen will be cut twice, which means for things like this, where they're really swirly and decorative, it is going to take a really long time to cut out. So maybe go and make yourself a tea or a coffee or a nice cold drink before you get started, because you're going to be sat there with your Cricut for quite a long time. I've now got all of my pieces of cardstock cut out, so it's time to start putting together this monster of a project. First up, we're going to make the holders for each of the tea lights. These are the tea lights I'm using, just little ones. They've got a battery pack on the bottom. Switch that on and it will glow. And then they'll sit in here really nicely. There's lots of detail on here, which you can see with my glitter card. And it's really easy to take the candles out to turn them on and off. There's a ridge inside so they don't drop all the way down. I've already made 4 of these. There are 5 in total. They all go together in exactly the same way. So I will show you how to do it on the last one. First up, we'll do this bottom piece with the decorative sides. When you look at it from underneath, you'll notice there are lots of tabs folded inwards. That's how this slots on to the main candelabra. To make this section, you'll need the pieces that look like the ones you can see on my table here. We've got these 2 shapes, the little hexagon, and then 5 of these shapes with the kind of zigzaggy pattern on. And these are cut from my glitter card. Everything else is from my regular black cardstock. This little piece sits inside the main base of the candle holder, and it gives it a ledge inside so that when you're adding it onto the main candelabra, it doesn't go in too far. So we'll do this bit first. We've got score lines on here. I think you can just about see on the camera. It's scored a hexagon shape in the middle, and then each of the tabs along here has got another score line. We'll fold it upwards along all those score lines, upwards, so each side will sort of bend upwards like that. I'm not very good at describing 3D projects when I'm folding things up and knowing what to call all the different shapes. Hopefully it's all going to make sense. Okay, that's all of those folded. And then the sides kind of come upwards, and then the other hexagon will glue on top. So what we're going to do is make this so that all the pieces on the tabs on the ends are nice and horizontal, and then add glue on them, push it together and stick this on top. And zoom in a little bit more, as much as I can, because it is quite small. You could use double-sided tape if you prefer, but I think glue's easier because you get that bit of wiggle room until it dries to make sure everything's in exactly the right position. Let's glue on all those tabs, and I've got my hexagon shape, and put a couple on. Start pulling in those sides. It's a little tricky getting them all where we want them to. Starting with a fiddly bit. Don't worry, it's not all as bad. might even be easier to do it the other way up and push them all onto the bottom. Then you can hold them vertically. Waiting for that glue to dry. When it's nearly dry, you can turn it round and just make sure it's going where it's supposed to, which this is not. It does get there. You just need to give it a little bit of love, pushing it in a little bit at a time. And then what can be helpful when it's in place but the glue isn't dry yet, so that you don't have to hold it the whole time, is to use this awesome trick from Lucy at Paper Glitter Glue. She taught me this. Get some painter's tape or some low tack masking tape, and you can go down, hold those bits in place. As long as you don't push down too hard, it shouldn't damage the card when you take it off again. This bit doesn't matter because it's going to be inside something else. You're not going to see it at all. So if it does take the card away, it does not matter in the slightest. There we go. Okay. Keep that to dry. While that's drying, we'll work on this piece. I'm going to turn it over and then again fold upwards along all the score lines. We've got score lines along the side and score lines around the hexagon shape in the middle. There's also a little score line along each of these tabs. Fold those down as well. So once again, we're sort of building it downwards so that we can join all the sides inwards together. That's all of those done. Before we glue it together, we need to put this on the inside. And take off all my tape. Save it for later because I'm sure I'll need it again for something else. And glue to one of the sides. It doesn't matter if you do the top or the bottom. And then glue this into the middle of the hexagon with all your sides so they'll be folding upwards. This will add as a block inside to stop the holders going too far down the candelabra. And then when that's done, we can glue all of these sides up together. So we'll be pulling them upwards and gluing the big tabs together. You don't need to glue the little tabs on the bottom. They remain open. They're just kind of a way to help, again, hold this onto the rest of the structure. You can either glue them all at once and then fold them up together, or do it one at a time. One at a time is kind of easier because then you can hold them in place as the glue dries for each one, or you can use the painter's tape. The last one's always the trickiest to get in because you'll be balancing several different sides together. There we go, there's that shape done. Next up, we've got the decorative pieces to glue on the sides. So each of these, nice and simple, glues from the top along like that. Now I've used glitter card that's white on the back, and it does mean that I'll be able to see a little bit of white along the sides. If you look here, you can see a little bit of the white. It was really noticeable on these top decoration bits that we'll be doing next, so I coloured in the sides of this with some black felt tip pen to hide the white. But on these bits and the other parts of the candelabra, I thought actually the white kind of enhances it because it draws your eye into the pattern a little bit more. Otherwise it was a bit too subtle with that black glitter on top of the black. I maybe should have chosen a purple or a red or a green or something, but I really wanted it to be super dark and gothic, so it is doing the vibe that I wanted. But if you are worried about your sides of the paper showing as white, you can go down them with a pen. I'll show you that in a minute when we get on to the next part. Each of these bits just needs that bit of glue on the back. They're all the same size, so you don't need to worry about which one goes on which side or anything like that. I'll just go one per side, oops, down to the score line where it folds over. Don't worry if you're messy with your glue like I was here. You can either wipe it away with your finger or a tissue, or just leave it because it will dry clear. Depending on what glue you're using anyway, but mine does dry clear. I'm also getting my fingers absolutely covered in black glitter. My work surface is covered too, and my poor Cricut, after cutting out all this glitter card, needed a serious bit of cleaning because that was also full of black glitter. I didn't have any non-shed glitter card. That would have been far superior to this. You know what? I said that this was a hexagon and it was only 5 sides. That's wrong, isn't it? A hexagon is 6 sides. Which is why we've actually got 6 pieces of this, not 5. 2 of my bits were stuck together, so I only saw 5, but there are definitely 6 and 6 sides. It's going well already. Right, that's all those on there. That's that part complete. And now we can move on to doing this bit that sits along the top. And first up, we'll do these 2 bits. I turn one of them over and then glue them back to back. These are the ones where I thought there was a bit too much white showing on the sides because it's now 2 bits thick. So I got a pen. A Sharpie would work great, but I didn't have one. So just a black felt tip pen. And go down the sides if you want to. It's completely optional, and you might not need to if you haven't used card that is white on one side. Just trying to fill it in a little bit so it's not so obvious. I've gone down all of there, and then I'm also going to go down the sides of all these sticky out bits. I'm not doing the very outside edge, this bit yet. I'll do that once it's on top of the holder. Then I won't need to hold it, so I'm not going to get ink all over my fingers, or at least not much. This bit we can do without touching any of the ink as it's drying. Doesn't matter if you get any on the backs, like I've been a bit messy, because that's going to be touching up against the rest of the candle holder, so you won't see it. It's just these sides that we'll see. That's looking much neater. Right, I'm going to leave that to dry. Whilst that is drying, we'll work on the rest of it, which is these 3 pieces. So we've actually got 2 circles. I did that same trick again of putting them on top of each other. We've got 2 circles and 2 of these bits with the crocodile teeth tabs down the side. We'll start with the smallest piece. And we've got the tab along the crocodile teeth, which we can fold all of those bits inwards. And then we're going to wrap this round and glue it to make a circle shape as perfectly circular as you can, because this has to hold the tea light. And put some glue on there and then fold it round, and once it's folded round I'm going to add a paper clip to hold it in place till the glue dries. Fold it round, make sure it's in a kind of circular shape as close as you can. The world's biggest paper clip over to hold that in place. Actually, I've got a smaller one. That would work better. While that's drying, tuck down all of the crocodile teeth and then glue the circle that's got the cutout on onto the top like this. This also helps you know that you have got it circular because you can match it to this shape. I'm going to use some more of my trusty tape to hold that in place. While that's drying, we can fold up the other side. So once again, fold the tabs. And this does the same kind of thing. So we're turning it round and then gluing over to make a circle. You kind of know when you've got it right because the crocodile teeth line up to make that perfect circle shape along there. Dab of glue. Fold it round. And put a paper clip on or hold it until the glue dries. And then we've got the circle without a hole to glue on the bottom of this one. Use my pen to get those tabs stuck. That's easier. It's not very circular though. Maybe that wasn't the best plan. This little bit we've made here will then go inside. It's slightly smaller. Push it all the way down to the bottom, and that makes the ridge for the tea light to sit into. When all the glue's dry, take your decorative part, and then we want to make it so that the black on the outside goes to the outside here. So fold it upwards like this so that the black is visible from the side. It will hold itself in place just over the top like that. And make sure it's nice and even all the sides around. I don't glue these on, I don't think it needs it, and they don't drop over time, but if you want to, you could add a little bit of glue under all of those bits. And then I'm going to colour in the white now that I can hold it on the base and not get my fingers covered in pen. Right, that's that coloured in. And then we just need to glue the bits together. So take your base and fold all your tabs in. It should stand up on its own. And then get your base of the top section. If you don't want to glue this so that you can take it apart easier for future years for storing, you could add a bit of Velcro on each of these bits and Velcro them on instead, then they could come apart. Put that on there, and then we've got a lovely candle holder, and then you would repeat that for each of the others until you end up with 5 in total. Next up, we'll make the base of the candelabra. You'll need this big piece here, 6 of these, 6 of these, and then there's a large hexagon with a little circle cut out. You'll need that one. And then a smaller hexagon with a cross cut out of it. That's also got a circle. And then this piece also with a big cross cut out of it and a little circle. The circles are how we're going to know what direction to stick everything on in. We'll start up by making this. Again, this has got score lines down all the sides, so I'm going to fold along those and fold backwards away from myself. I don't think it really matters, but I'll stay consistent with everything. So 2 lines along each of the sides. Fold the top tabs so that they go kind of horizontally above. So the first tabs are upwards, they're vertical, and then the other one sits kind of opposite the main side. It's almost like we're building a little box. Then add glue to the tops of all of the tabs, and then we'll glue the hexagon on top. And make sure you line it up with the circle. So we've got a circle here and a circle on the hexagon. You just need to make sure they're pointing that same direction. It might not be that way. This one. Pull in all those sides so that it's neat and matches that shape. And again, either hold it till it's dry or add some tape. We've also got this bit to glue on top, which you could do whilst the glue is drying. Just make sure that you don't glue it over any tape. So I'm just going to rip that off a little bit. Again, make sure that your circle cutouts line up. Well, not line up, overlap, but are pointing the same direction. So mine are both pointing here. This gives it a little bit more stability. The cross is where the main structure of the candelabra will slot into to make it stand up. So adding an extra little bit of card just means it'll be stronger to hold it all in. That's what we've ended up with. While that's drying, we can take this piece here, and again, it's got lots of score lines on it. We've got one against the tabs here, one against them here, one here, and then one a little bit further down. So I'll go ahead and get all of those folded. Let's just do one to show you. I'll fold up along there, and along there. Also got a score line along these teeny tiny tabs on the side, and then one on that bigger one, and one on the very end. I've got all the sides folded upwards, and then in the middle is where our first part is going to sit. We've got one tab with a circle cut out of the top, and that's where we'll line it up with the circles on here. Put some glue on the bottom. Quite a lot of glue on this. And then point it towards the tab that's got the hole in it, towards that corner. So the circles will go towards the corner next to where that cutout is. Put it as close to the middle as you can get. It means that your cross in the middle ends up kind of facing off diagonally. Now we've put that in, we can build the sides. And we've got a little tab for glue, and then this one, and then it will go in. So we've kind of got the base going upwards vertically, and then after the next score line, it goes up at more of an angle. It's so hard to show you black card. I should have cut it from something else just for this example and then done another black one for the pictures. But that would have taken so long. And I've only just thought of it as being something I should have done. This is going to end up covered in our decorative pieces, so I'm not worrying too much about the tape if it does damage anything. So I'm going to work my way through and get all of the sides of this stuck together. I'm back, my base is stuck together, and I realise I made a slight mistake. I stuck the extra shape like this on top of that base because I thought it was for stability. That's how I remembered it, but actually it was supposed to go on the top like this to secure the base. So what I've done in the design that you get is, because I do think this does need an extra bit to make it thicker, I've added an extra shape in the version you get, which looks like this. This doesn't have a circular hole cut out of it, so you need to make really, really sure that when you're sticking it in, you line up the shape of the cross so it's going the same direction as this one inside, which you can't see because it's too dark. But there is the cross in there. It's going kind of like that. So you need to make sure when I glue this on, it's also in that same formation. I'm working off of my original prototype, which is falling apart. When we do prototypes, we use removable double-sided tape, which is really low tack. It's just about enough to hold it together for testing, but it means it's easy to take apart again if we need to tweak things and swap out little bits and pieces as we're modifying the design to get to the final thing. And this was made probably about 4 months ago. And I didn't make any notes at the time because I thought, oh, it's done, I can get ahead of things, I can get the video recorded and I'll remember it all because I'm going to do it really soon. And yeah, that didn't happen. I'm not quite sure how we're 4 months down the line, but time has been moving very, very quickly this year. So yeah, my piece like this on my prototype had accidentally got stuck down to here where it's falling apart. That's where my confusion came in. Anyway, but it's fine, we fixed it. And actually it'll look a little bit nicer now because this bit doesn't have the circular cutout, which means you're not going to see that circle on the finished design, which you would have done before. So my mistake has ended with a better final design. So I'm happy with that. And don't worry that this is all falling apart. It is just because we use the really low tack removable tape. We intend them to fall apart because we're always taking them apart to check things and measure things. And the one that you're making with glue will not fall apart. It is very, very sturdy. Okay. Now I'm going to glue my lid on, secure it with tape again, and then wait for that to dry. When the glue is dry, then I'm going to glue all these pieces to the side. So I think I'll do that off camera too. But what you'll do is just glue one of these bits to all the sides, and then you've got the narrow bits, and they'll glue one of those against each of the bottom parts. But for now, lining up the cross so it's in that same direction. Push the sides in, the tabs in as you're going so it stays nice and neat against the shape. And then either hold it or add more tape until the glue is dry. My base is now all done with all the glittery bits around all of the sides. So this can now go off to one side, and we'll start with these pieces. I'm getting bigger now, I'm going to have to zoom out. Start off by taking the two pieces that are filled in. So we're not doing these ones yet with the gap between the legs. We're doing these two. And then to add all the bits around the side, let's show you my prototype version. This is what we're going to end up with. And it's got all of these bits in here and around the sides. The bits that go down the middle are the two pieces that look like this. So if I turn them around, they're actually the same. It's the same bit twice. And you know if you've got the right part because they've got square cutouts on the sides. And then you'll also need all of the pieces that have got two triangle cutouts on them. So here I've got two triangles out of this piece. Let's try and get, actually if I do it that way it will show up much easier. Okay, two triangles, and then there is this piece also with two triangles cut out, and then two smaller pieces which are the same size with those two triangles in each. So these will be for the sides, these will be for the top. We'll do the top first. Alright, so that's these two pieces with the squares. There are two tabs on the end, one on each, where it goes into a little rectangle shape with the square. Those will be the ones that go up against the edge. Where it meets in the middle, that's where we need to join these two pieces together, and that's on the other end, these ones. Take your glue and go down one of those pieces on that tab on the end, like that, and then glue the other one on top. We're matching those sides. Put one exactly over the other. Make sure it's all nice and straight, and then we'll wait for that glue to dry. While the glue's drying, we can build up the other side. Take the piece with the two triangles, and it's the one where you've got this big section over here on the left, and then take the second largest piece with the two triangles cut out. Make sure your score lines are facing upwards on both of them, and then this will overlap that tab. Oh, that's the wrong way around. This will overlap the tab here. So the side without the triangle cutouts on this one will go up to the line. And it's going to be hard to show you because it's a bit too long to fit in. But it means you're basically ending up then. You've got this bit in the middle, and then each of the sides looks the same. This is one of those where following the written tutorial might actually be a little bit easier. Put those there, then that needs to dry. And then we've got the other two pieces with the two triangles that will glue one on each side. Again, I've got my score lines facing upwards on all these pieces. And it might be easier to do this gluing it along the edge of your desk or the edge of a cutting mat or something like that, so you know that it's definitely straight. I can't do that because of how my filming setup is. And then the other side, we've got two bits with two triangles cut out to line up. It ends up very, very long. Right, that can dry. Oh, just moved that. That can dry while we bring the original one back in, and then turn it upside down and fold upwards along all of the little folds and all the other score lines. This is where it starts to get a little bit repetitive. We'll be doing this quite a lot now for the rest of the project. I've now folded all my tabs up on both sides. We've ended up with this kind of millipede looking shape. On the two ends, you've got a little square tab. These are what's going to go against each of these sides. So take one of your base pieces, and then we can start this off by lining that up the way around. There we go. So this is for the top, so that square will be stuck right up against the top, and then we'll slowly go round, bending this to the exact shape as close as we can get to the candelabra. And then when it ends up on the other side, you've got the other square to fill in that top. Now this is tricky to do. It's a strange shape, lots of twists. Now I'm going to use a combination of tape and glue for this. This is just the inside, we're not going to see it, so it doesn't matter if it ends up a little messy. I'm going to run down as close as I can without going over the edge with my double-sided tape. Alright, now as we saw from my prototype, my tape isn't enough to hold this completely. So I'm going to add a bit of glue too. Just a few little bits along. This will help hold it even sturdier in place. But just do a little bit at a time because the glue is likely to dry otherwise before you get to it. I've got my square. The tabs on this line up right up against the top. This is our starting point. The tape helps to grab it straight away so that the rest of it ends up a little bit easier. On there. Although the glue does make it move about, which then makes it harder. And then kind of twist it inwards and start getting those tabs stuck down. It'll be easier to look at it this way round because then you can see easier. Like I can see now I have missed that. Doesn't quite line up. So you're aiming for this to be as closely aligned to the edge of the main structure bit as you can possibly get. Even when you're curving it round, like I'm doing here, to get around the shape changes. Go slowly and carefully. Take your time and try not to get frustrated if it doesn't quite do what you're expecting it to. For some reason my end was coming out further than it should, so I'm going to push that back down so the end lines up and then work backwards for the rest of it. My glue hasn't dried yet, so it's okay. I think it was this curve here. I'd pulled it a little bit too, I had it a bit too loose or tight, so it was not using as much cardstock for the loop as it should have done. But now that's better. Make sure it's stuck. Whew. Right. That bit done. Now for the other one, which is the super long one, and we'll start by folding up all the crocodile teeth, and then the bit in the middle will be the bit to go along the base. I'll go through both sides, folding them all down like this. I won't make you watch me do the whole thing because that would be very repetitive. I've already added my tape to the outside of the rest of the design. I'm going to start with some glue. And we'll start this time in the middle. You've got the long tab that goes there. You can line that up to know it's exactly right before you start anything else. We've got a handy little score line here. Maybe I'll fold it first. There we go. Score lines to get that first bit going at 90 degrees. Very hard to show on camera because it's big overall, but what I'm doing is small right here. Okay, so I'm going to go through just like with the top piece, following the whole way round, and then when I get to the very end, I'll glue it on top of these tabs on the sides to make one cohesive whole piece. Okay, that was an effort, but now we've got this all glued on there around all the sides. Now from the front I can see I didn't do a particularly neat job of it here. You can still see where I didn't quite get that curve, so some of the tabs are showing through, but by the time we've added the decorations on top you won't notice. Now I need to add on the other side, so we'll be putting glue down all of those tabs and sticking this on the top, or you could do it the other way around and glue around here and put it on like that. It's up to you which way around you want to do it. I'm going to put my glue on the tabs, I think. Let's think. Do I want to do it that way? That'd probably take longer. No, I'm going to do it this way. We need this to stay really well stuck to get those crocodile teeth done. So I'm going to wrap it in some strips of tape to hold it tight. Okay, that's taped up. Wait for it to dry. I'll probably add another little bit of tape around that top bit, and then when it's dry I'll take off all the tape and then we can glue the decorative pieces to the top. Next it's time to glue the decorations onto the pieces that we've just put together. This is the one where the sides come in two pieces, so we've got one to go on the left and one to go on the right. Some of the detail will overlap the edge of the shapes, so you want to make sure when you're gluing you don't add any glues into these kind of sticky out pointy bits because they've got nothing on the other side to glue to. So we'll just add it to the main frame and the swirls inside. It's most important that your bottom side lines up with the bottom. Don't have it overlapping or it might not go together right. That one, and then the same for the right hand side. Oh, look, I've got a little bit that hasn't popped out there. Once again, make sure that bottom is level. The rest of it doesn't matter as much. Turn it over, and you've got matching bits to glue the other side. So I'll pause my camera and get those glued on too. Here's how my piece looks with those decorative bits stuck on, and I didn't like that I could see the white of the back of my card on the backs of these bits, so I've coloured that in with my black pen as well to make it blend in a little bit better. Okay, one done, one more to go. Next up is this one with the gap down the middle. I've already added my tape around the sides. Don't put any tape right up against the cutout. There's nothing to stick there. There'll be a couple of little tabs, which we'll do now, but nothing to go down this bit. You should have 3 teeny tiny pieces like this and 3 even teeny tinier rectangles like that. There are 2 score lines on this piece on each side. Fold it down the score lines, open it up, and then add a little bit of glue in the middle and stick one of the rectangle pieces on top. And then repeat that for the other 2 pieces that look like that. These are going to be used to give it a little bit of stability in the middle. Add a little bit of glue just above the top of the gap, and then 2 round about there. It doesn't have to be exact. And then stand up your 3 rectangles on one of those tabs so that the smooth rectangle is facing towards the middle. And there. Oops, sticking it to my fingers. On this one, my smooth rectangle facing into the middle. And then one the other side, again with that rectangle going into the middle. Make sure it doesn't overlap into the gap, otherwise you might not be able to slot the 2 pieces together. Okay, then we can start on our next lot of crocodile teeth. Start up by gathering the pieces that have got 2 circles cut out of them. You've got this long bit here with the 2 circles, a slightly shorter bit with 2 circles on the other side, and then 2 pieces the same that are a little bit smaller, again with those 2 circles. First up, take the longest piece, turn it round so that you've got the 2 circles facing you on the left, and then get the other long piece and glue the bit without the circles on top of those ones. We're making one long piece. Wait for that to dry, and then fold all the crocodile teeth or tabs along those score lines, and also do the folding of the tabs on these 2 pieces as well. Here are all my tabs folded up on the long piece, and the middle bit where you've got the rectangle will go at the top section in the middle. So we can fold in those tabs to make it look like the top of a box or a rectangle, like that. And that will go here, and then we'll bend each side around the waves of the candelabra holder. Making sure my teeth are all nicely folded over. Get that lined up along the top. It's probably going to be easier this way around so I can see a little bit better. There we go. Then choose a side and start folding it round. Again, we're matching up all those crocodile teeth with the edge of the main shape. Starts off nice and easy with that straight line, and then gets a little bit trickier when we get to the curves. You'll run out of card round about there. Then it's time to move on to the other side. So far, I've made a much neater job of that one than I did on the other one. Okay, next up we're going to finish up the top with the 2 smaller bits, and we've got the tab bit on the end that folds over to be kind of that box shape that goes up against the top. This will be how our candle holders slot on to the top of the candelabra. Now fold it round and glue it to the back of what we've already got. A little bit of glue on the back of the one you've already done to help hold this one in place. Then repeat the same on the other side with the other little piece. I've got my square, which will go along there to the back of that bit. Okay, got the top bit done. Now the bottom bit, the last crocodile teeth pieces. Okay, we've got 4 bits this time, and they've all got 1 circle taken out of them. I've already folded up one of the pieces, and the longest bits will go down along the bottoms here. Once again, we've got the bits that fold over into almost looking like the lid of a box. That goes along the bottom. Remember, there'll be nothing going up the sides of the gap. This one just goes on there. Should add some glue first. Probably shouldn't have taped the whole thing in one go because I keep sticking my fingers to it. It ends at a slightly awkward place because it's just at the bottom of that curve. But after that, use one of the smaller pieces, and the tab on the end will glue to the bit you've just put on, and then the other side will glue on top of the tab left over from those bits. Just fold all these crocodiles in. Not many on this bit, which is good. My tab's going on the inside of that last bit. I've put some glue in there. Then a bit along there. And on top of that tab on the side. I've now finished the left side, so I'll repeat the same on the other side with the last 2 remaining pieces. All of those tab pieces are now stuck on, which means I can put on the final piece on top. So last time I put the glue on the piece and then tried to stick that to it. Didn't work amazingly, so I'm going to try it the other way around this time. Put the glue on the tabs. It's good to try both ways, see which one works out best. As I thought, this is harder to put the glue on because the tabs are getting in the way. It's probably going to take longer. Hopefully my glue at the beginning won't have dried by the time I get back to it. Don't forget to add glue to the tops of the 3 tabs in the middle too. And let's see if this way is easier. Yeah, it's doing what I thought it would, and it's just popping off. There was a lot of tape needed. On reflection, the way I did it for the first time, putting the glue on the big bit and then sticking the tabs on top was easier and worked a lot better. So there you go, you've seen both ways. Hopefully that was helpful. Okay, right. I'll wait for that to dry, take my tape off, and then we're so nearly finished. Here's the piece finished, the glue is dry, and then I glued the decorative bits on the front and the back. And once again, I've coloured in the backs of all my bits of card in black pen. That's all the assembly of the individual pieces done. Now we just need to slot everything together. And these are the pieces that it will come apart into again to make it easier to store for future years. First up, take your 2 big pieces. The one with the gap goes over the one without a gap. Slides down the middle, like that. and then you'll end up with a cross shape at the bottom. Grab your base, and remember we've got the cross shape in here, and that matches up. You can push it through the 2 layers to have it stuck in there really firmly. So hard to do this. There we go. And now we've got our candle holders. I've not quite put that in straight. Need to wiggle it about a little bit. Ooh, I just threw the candles everywhere. For each of your little candle holders, they've got a gap in the bottom, and this will push over the shapes in here. And then that little ledge we put inside holds it level. Stops it going down too far. The middle one is the hardest to put on because it's the biggest bit. It's kind of bigger than all the little ones on the side. And adding these in is great for if you've been like me and not been quite very neat on those top bits. It hides all of those parts. Got some ribbon there left over from another project. And then it should stand up nice and straight. If it doesn't, it might mean that you've not quite got the base through that second level of hole. So just work at it, wiggling it gently until it goes in. And then you can add in all of the tea lights. I'm hoping all the batteries work in these ones because I've only got 5. If any of your edges aren't sitting straight, just wiggle, 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 wiggle until they are. The lights don't look very impressive on my camera because I've got all my big camera lights on. It'll look better when I've turned them off. Okay, I need to do a little bit of wiggling about because I've not got that in the right place. That's a little bit better. And I need to make all of these straight by moving them about a little. But generally, I can't really show you because the lights will fall out. But there we go. Halloween candelabra showstopper project finished. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how to make this showstopper candelabra Halloween project with a Cricut. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Halloween crafts and free SVGs. I think I deserve a little bit of a break after making this whole thing. If you make it too, you definitely deserve a cup of tea and a biscuit after you've finished. I hope to see you tomorrow for day 6 of the card making countdown, and tomorrow's project is much simpler and quicker to make than this one. Let me know in the comments what you think of this candelabra, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!